If I said that George Floyd died after being arrested for trying to buy something with counterfeit money with fentanyl in his system, do you think...
What do you think of this? Because he keeps trying to point out where right wingers are kind of what do they call it? Dog whistling. They're saying something but meaning something else.
Well, not dog whistling, but like that people are going to hyper fixate on one element or a couple elements of a story and ignore the other elements in order to make a political narrative, right?
Right.
So I understand what Destiny's saying. I think you can have that conversation. Well, first of all, that conversation is a difficult one because it's kind of nebulous and hard to put into words. And you can only have that conversation if you're talking to someone who is charitable or acting in good faith. You cannot have that conversation with someone like Sam, who's acting 100% bad faith and is lying to your face.
Right.
So I think it's a bad tactical move for him to try to move the conversation in that direction.
Right. Well, when he uses these examples, Sam Seder, I mean, Sam Seder would call anyone that brought up the fentanyl thing a racist. Like that would be his go-to move. You're only bringing this up because you hate black people, right?
I would assume, yeah. I don't remember. I didn't see any of his coverage of George Floyd, but I wouldn't be that shocked.
I think, and the reason I use the term dog whistling is because I think Sam Seder would perceive these kinds of comments as dog whistles.
Yes.
So I'm not saying necessarily they are dog whistles.
Right.
I think it's legitimate to bring up the fact that, George Floyd had fentanyl. It's part of the case, right? I'm sure they brought it up in the police case or whatever, the court case.
They did bring it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam would say that. I'm just saying that's not Destiny. What Destiny's describing isn't quite dog whistling.
But he's using it as in the context of kind of dog whistling because he's saying, Sam, if some right winger brought this up, you would hit him with the racist stick.
Maybe, right. Maybe.
Here, we'll listen to it.
Yeah.
Pay close attention and give me your feedback.
Think that
I would be guzzling their buckets of cum.
if I said that George Floyd died after being arrested for trying to buy something with counterfeit money with fentanyl in his system, do you think that that's okay to say, even though factually everything I just said was correct? Or would you say, well, hold on, the framing here is a little bit dishonest? Because if you say that, you know what, that's fine, it's all factually correct, then I guess we agree on everything. That's fine. You can just say whatever you want, I guess. As long as you're picking the right facts and they don't happen to be incorrect.
That George Floyd had fentanyl in his system?
Yeah.
And that's why he died?
He died with fentanyl in his system. Could have been an OD, maybe. Don't know 100%.
I mean, I think we know the coroner's report.
You know the coroner's report, but we don't know 100% how much fentanyl contributed to him dying. We know that he got arrested there because I think he was trying to buy some of the counterfeit money.
We know what the but-for was, right? The but-for was the knee on his neck. But yes, he did have fentanyl in his system. I don't think that's a reason to die, to be killed.
Sure, I'm not saying it's a reason to be killed. But if I were to only report on those types of facts, which a lot of conservatives did, even though it's all factually correct, I still think you'd have an issue with the framing.
See, the conservatives, when Ben Shapiro reported on the George Floyd thing, he left out the entire Derek Chauvin incident.
Well, I mean, it's impossible. Yeah. First of all, no one did that because it's literally impossible to do that.
Can you imagine?
But that's what I'm saying. I understand what he's trying to say. That's what I'm saying. This conversation is too complicated and too hard to put into words that you can't have it with someone like Sam.
But a lot of conservatives did do the same thing Sam is doing with the Sam is saying the entire Rittenhouse situation is Rittenhouse's fault because he went to the protest with a gun.
Right.
And there are people who have said the entire Floyd situation is his fault because he was on fentanyl.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Chauvin has some level of culpability. I don't think he should have been found guilty of the charges that he was found guilty of. I think he should have been found guilty of, I don't know, some far less charge. Because, I do think if you're arresting someone, it is in your duty to make sure they're not dying.
Yeah.
But, obviously George Floyd has, I would say, the majority of the responsibility there, because not only was he on fentanyl, but he was 100% resisting arrest. He pushed himself out of the car. Like I mean, part of what was left out in the conversation too publicly is that, George Floyd pushed himself out of the car. And the reason he was on the floor like that was because of himself. He was in the car. They're trying to put him in the car and he pushes himself out the other door because I guess it wasn't locked or something. He just pushes himself out the other side of the door.
So much of these discussions are focused on trying to place blame.
Yeah.
It's all about trying to place blame.
Of course.
And using whatever you have to be able to place blame.
Right.
And Sam Seder's just using garbage. I mean, I don't know how you can say what Kyle Rittenhouse did was blameworthy in any way, shape, or form.
No, I don't think
really
it was.
Don't. Yeah.
I don't think it was.
But they're so desperate to place blame on Kyle.
Yeah.
Much the same that I have an issue with your framing when you're saying he went to go and protect stores because somebody might steal some Skittles, and he killed 2 people with his gun to protect some stores. They weren't just Skittles that were on fire that night, and he didn't kill people protecting stores. He killed people that tried to kill him.
I mean, the minutia in which you're taking issue with.
Minutia. Great. Just minutia, guys.
Oh, this is great.
Just this is teeny tiny little minutia.
Yeah. This is great. Listen, we can come on stream and just fucking lie about whatever we want. I saw, Sam Seder in the library with the bucket of cum. Okay.
Did you really?
Yes, I'm pretty sure it was Professor Plum's cum. Okay.
Right.
And then when he says, wait a minute, that didn't happen, I'll say, listen, Sam, why are we focusing on the minutia, okay, of the facts here? Okay, why is that? That's irrelevant. The minutia. My God.
Yeah.
Why are you focusing on the minutia? The fact that I'm being a dishonest prick. Right. I don't understand.
Ostensibly, I'm telling the truth.
Yeah.
This is just minutia.
Yes, the ostensible truth. I like that. That's a good. We'll have to remember that buzzword. Okay?
Sure. Yeah.
Whenever
great.
someone says something and we want to give ourselves cover, we'll just say ostensibly.
Like my issue with someone saying that George Floyd, had fentanyl in his blood to the extent that I take issue with that, has to do with their intent. And
would the cops have even been there if he didn't have fentanyl in his blood? I don't know.
He was. They pulled him over for counterfeit money and everything. They didn't know he had fentanyl.
Oh, okay.
Right. Though it was, I don't know if it was ever 100% proven, but it did seem likely that he had fentanyl on his person and he swallowed it because he knew that if he was arrested with the drugs, that would
he'd get in big trouble.
Right.
Oh, that's so harsh. What a terrible way to go.
Yep.
Ugh.
I don't think, and a lot of people on the left refuse to acknowledge this, and this isn't completely put Chauvin off the hook, obviously, but if he hadn't swallowed the fentanyl, I don't think he would have died at all.
Yeah.
From just having the force of his knee on his neck. But
right.
He
might. I mean, he might not have even resisted because I mean, God, he might have freaking out if I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna die."
Right. I mean, it's very possible that the reason he was freaking out about going in the car was because of he just ingested a shit ton of drugs. Yeah. So I mean, that's definitely possible.
Yeah. Yes. What a fucked up situation.
Our intent in that is to underplay the idea of police brutality and the way that black people are policed in this country. Your issue with my intent is that I'm not giving a fair enough shake to a guy who killed 2 people in self-defense because he was in a place, because he made an incredibly stupid decision, because he wanted to protect property. And
yeah, you're underplaying the fucking rioters, dude. I don't see how it's not like a 1-for-1 comparison here.
Well, and this answer is very, very telling because basically he's saying the facts don't matter. What matters is the broader political messaging.
Right.
So he's like, with George Floyd, I'd have a problem with that because George Floyd has a broader political messaging about, policing and discrimination against black people. But with Kyle Rittenhouse, the broader political messaging of rioting goes against my narrative. So I don't give that any credibility or leeway or anything like that.
The narrative, and it's so crazy that we live in a world where you could just look up the facts. The narrative on police brutality it's not anywhere near the proportions that
they think it is.
Yeah, yes, the Sam Cedars of the world are trying to make you believe that it is. He's promoting a false narrative on both sides, because he literally just said the purpose of the conservatives making this argument is to downplay police brutality, which he obviously has a problem with, or why would he be saying this, right? And also, he is covering for the rioters because he wants to say that police brutality is so out of control that we have every right to burn down businesses. Like, he's trying to upplay the police brutality.
Right.
All of this is an argument over that narrative. And you look at the facts, and Sam Cedar's full of shit.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Well, not only is he full of shit, but the problem is, this came up with Tony Timpa. This came up with a lot of people. There's a lot of weird, fucked up cases of the police killing people who are not black. And you see the video and you're like, oh my God, and no one talks about it. And so you can't even, to me, the real issue here is that when there is instances of police brutality, which is not, I don't think it's the widespread problem that they claim it is, but when there are instances of it, or instances of wrongful shooting, I don't think, and the evidence does not show, that it's because the cops are all racist.
No.
I think what's going on here is that, cops are highly agitated. They're too tense. There's too much adrenaline pumping, and they just lose fucking control of themselves and act crazy or stupid or reckless.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the training that police officers need to, be engaged with. And they never will be, because the narrative is that they're racist. So instead of, actually doing useful training about controlling your adrenaline or controlling your emotional state, they're going to have useless training about, don't be racist.
Yeah. I guess Roland Fry is an economist that did some study where he set out to prove Black Lives Matter was legit and ended up proving the opposite. Do you know this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He found that white cops were more likely to shoot white people and less likely to shoot black people, and black cops are more likely to shoot black people and less likely to shoot white people. So, yeah. Then I found the exact opposite of what it's just, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's interesting dilemma, but
out and monetizing it. I am perfectly willing to accept that I am framing it in a way that makes that point that he is an asshole for going out and monetizing it, and that I'm framing it in that way to make that clear to people, because I want to discourage anybody, regardless of what their race is or what their ideology is, picking up a weapon and deciding they're going to play, sheriff or whatever it is.
So there you go. No one can defend their property or their community from harm. You just have to bite the bullet on that one, Ad. Okay. Just accept.
But he never answered whether or not it's okay to burn down the city.
Well, it's not. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying you can't do anything to stop it. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Yeah.
Just don't stop it.